Hey, welcome to Mega on Air. My name's Mega, and so just before I actually introduce the person who's going to be with me today, I'm just going to introduce that this is going to be about gag characters and comic relief characters and scenes. Before we actually fully start, I'm just going to have like just my 2 cents of what's going on. So today I actually saw, because if I didn't see this either way, I was not going to have anything. So today I saw that we are getting a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. It's gonna be about what happened after the last Ronin. So there's gonna be four new turtles. I don't remember what their names were. All I saw was just like one short little snippet of a comic. So it wasn't really too crazy, but it looks really interesting nonetheless. I think it's going to be the sensei is not going to be Master Splinter. Obviously, after the last Ronin, everybody has died. It's going to be Casey Jones and April O'Neil's daughter, who is also counted as a mutant due to the fact that April and Casey were around the Ninja Turtles for so long that the radiation off of them went into their bodies and kind of mutated their child. So I'm kind of excited to see how that actually pans out. So today I'm actually going to have Brittany Luz. She's actually one of my close friends. I've known her since high school, and she's going to give me some more perspective on gag characters, or as much as her knowledge can go. So it's going to be really great. And Brittany, people can hear you now.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for coming on, by the way. I didn't say that while we were just kind of in the chat room together.
No, Bart. Happy to be here.
All right. So we have I have a couple questions ready. I'm going to have them posted up so everyone kind of can see what the questions are. So it's going to be really nice. So if you can't see them, just let me know. I don't know who's actually in the chat right now, but it's fine. So the first question is what was comic relief for? So before I fully start, let me actually have this ready. So just to give you a perspective, I have the definitions ready for comic relief and gag characters. Comic relief is a humorous character, otherwise serious and otherwise serious work, often to just relieve the tension. And so one thing that we've seen it in is in long times. We see it in a lot of media. One of the first is in plays, and if for a quick example, we have the graveyard for people who the grave digger, not the graveyard, the grave digger in Hamlet. So that scene between like the grave diggers who are kind of like digging the hole to put a body in. They were more to relieve the stress of an otherwise gruesome, horrible scene, or series of events, I should say. Brittany, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I gotta say that I'm aligned with all of that. I want to add that I tend to see a lot of comic relief when things get either awkward in a really tense situation. But yeah, it's just usually a humorous moment within a very serious context.
Yeah, and I think that's actually like, I think a lot of works need it a lot, because if you're watching a lot of shows and there's just like bloody scene after bloody scene, it can like emotionally wear you out or kind of like numb you to like what the situation truly is about. So for key example, um when we're all kids, we watched The Lion King. Obviously the animated one. Not everyone watched the live action, like, CGI one, because apparently it was bad, but Childish Gambino is still amazing. But seeing Timon and Pumbaa be the characters who are always there for Simba, but they're not like the main characters always rolling out the punch, like always making sure it's a more relaxed show or series for children always makes it really happy. You don't always want to see just the tension rise between like a child who's seeking revenge for his father's death, who's going to attack his uncle. That's not something you always want to be part of. That's kind of my 2 cents on that one, honestly. um but on top of the fact that we also do have anime and other things called like who have gag characters in it. And the definition for a gag character is a gag character is usually a character that is rarely used and shows no personality except for the joke in the comic strip or TV show. So keeping that in mind, Brittany, have you ever, I know a while ago we did talk about Avatar. Have you watched that by any chance?
I have, but it was definitely several years ago.
Yeah, I mean the only character I wanted to actually point out in that was the cabbage guy. Every time there's like a lot of tension happening, he would have his cabbage cart gets ran over. All you hear scream is "my cabbages." That's the entire thing. So he's basically just a gag character for the show. He had no major part in that series whatsoever, just to say, like, except for just to say "my cabbages," and then it would just go on past that point. Tracking on to the fact that obviously you've watched SpongeBob. No, who hasn't watched SpongeBob, right?
Oh yeah.
SpongeBob has the fish who screams "my leg," and we all know him.
Yes.
He's also counted as a gag character for that reason as well, though. I don't know. Can you think of any like other gag characters though, or any characters that kind of come to mind when I say those examples?
So when you say gag character, or even comic relief, the first thing that comes to mind is literally Peacemaker.
Peacemaker.
Literally Peacemaker in his show. They've got Vigilante, and I feel like he is the comic relief in that show. But as far as a gag character in that show, I want to say it's the one that does the jujitsu. I can't remember his name for the life of me. But he wears a green costume, judo or something like that, and he is hysterical.
That's definitely a character I've seen. I haven't finished that show. I know Dory would definitely be mad at me for saying that, especially live. But from what I've seen, definitely one of the characters you just said, not Peacemaker, the one right after him.
The Judo Master. That's
Judo Master.
Judo Master.
Honestly, I saw him and I thought he was going to be named like the Cricket or something, just because he was green. I think he has like antennas.
Oh my gosh, I thought the same thing.
He does a lot of kicks too, so it's just like, oh, he's the Cricket, and then it's just like, no, he's not. Oh, Vigilante. So Vigilante, I felt like he was going to be the kind of like gag character. Like anytime something was happening, it was too serious, he would just pop up and be like, yes, this is my time to shine. And I was like, all right. He was really good at it, don't get me wrong. But it was just one of those things that just continuously happens, and he did a really good job in it. I don't know the actor's name exactly, but I know he, like, for sure, anytime you needed it, he was like, they wrote him very well. The person who played him, absolutely perfect for the role, so it was perfect to me. Just to throw out some other examples, there was Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove, and Dory, who perfectly came in. Dory from Finding Nemo was what I was gonna say. And then right when I said that, he just magically appears. So yeah, so those are the little other ones. I did not. So Dory's actually saying, did we say Kite Man? He's definitely a gag character in the Harley Quinn show. So that was definitely for sure. I know Dory. I put the question out like a couple weeks ago on Twitter about who would you consider a gag character or comic relief. Dory actually threw a lot of names. So I'm just gonna go to my Twitter and just find them real quick. Just give me one moment. Just realizing I also should probably start acknowledging the fact I'm streaming on Twitter now. Does not mean I'm actually doing it though, but I should probably start. Popoff from My Hero Academia. I don't actually know who Popoff is. All right, so we have from Dory from oh, okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about now. So from Dory from tweeted it would be Brett from Archer, Booster Gold from the DC universe, Melon Man from Avatar, Cabbage Man from Avatar, Quagmire from Family Guy, Roger from American Dad, Klaus also from American Dad, Claptrap from the Borderlands series, Uncle Ruckus, definitely Uncle Ruckus. I'll give that one. And Zoidberg. Oh, Uncle Ruckus from Boondocks, I should say. And Zoidberg from Futurama. So those are the ones that actually Dory had mentioned on Twitter. So I wanted to just make sure we acknowledge that before before going anywhere past that point. So those are all actually good examples for gag characters or comic relief. Actually, more gag characters. Brett being shot multiple times. Booster Gold is Booster Gold. Quagmire always has the same comedic joke of like he's a sex fiend, always like sexual animal. Claptrap, I don't know too much about Claptrap except for the fact that he is the very annoying robot, which I guess that might be it.
The running joke is he cannot go up and down the stairs.
Is that it? Okay. All right, so I didn't actually know that one, so I'm actually really happy that you knew that. Uncle Ruckus is just like a gag character on his own, just because he's a black man who's racist against black people. And Zoidberg being the doctor who always kills people and is always poor. And we do also have another one from Achilles, but I'm gonna bring that one up after a couple questions come back up. Actually, it's actually gonna be the next question that's coming up right now, so I can bring it here. So the next question is, can main characters, let me get this actually situated. Boom, you can't really see it very well, but I just want to make sure it's actually there. The next question actually is, can a main character be considered comic relief or a gag character? Achilles actually brought up Saitama from One Punch Man. His running gag is the fact that he kills everything in one punch, or he can defeat anybody within one punch. So that is an actual gag in the series. The whole point of his series, he is also the main character. He's him who's named after it. Everything that happens within that show can be like a high quality, extremely high budget action sequence, but he will still finish the end of that fight with one punch when he's serious, at least. Then would he be really considered the gag character of that show? Just due more to the fact that the definition of gag character is characters who are rarely used to begin with, but he does show no personality, and he's mostly used just for that one gag, but he does have backstory. He does show more personality because it's his series, so you see him a lot more frequently. But do you think he can be considered a gag character?
So Dory's shaking his head yes. But
okay.
I think that if a character is a gag character, then, well, I guess a gag character, it could be, but I think it would change the genre. If that is entirely their personality to be that comedic relief, then I think it would change the genre of what you're watching.
Okay. So you think it's like rather than he's a gag character, he's just like it's just a comedic show to begin with, so it can't really be the gag.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I guess the next question is because I haven't watched Finding Dory, but I have watched Finding Nemo, so I know Dory just keeps swimming, just keeps swimming. The the character that's always forgets where to go, what to do. Is Dory in Finding Dory and a comic relief still in her own right, or the gag of still forgetful?
In Finding Dory, she's still very forgetful, but she is the main character, and it's all about finding her parents.
Okay.
But there are little characters in the movie that do provide some comic relief. There is an octopus, for example.
Okay.
He's pretty silly. He jumps in at the right moment. Um, I'm trying to think of who else. The beluga whale is pretty funny. She comes in at the right moment. Her sonar doesn't work, so she tends to. Oh, apparently that's the other whale. I don't know if you can hear Dory, but he's correcting me. There's a character in there that sonar is broken, and they crash into the wall every time, and they live in an aquarium.
Oh,
Um, so they live in the aquarium to keep them safe, and he can't echolocate, so he just crashes into the walls.
that's actually pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
You should see it. It's on Disney Plus.
I should actually start watching it then. So Dory's asking, is there a polar opposite character on that show? And just to make sure we were clarifying, the show One Punch Man is what he's asking about, right?
Yes, it is One Punch Man.
Okay. So yes, there is a character who's the polar opposite on this show, in a way. So the character Genos is his hero name is Demon Cyborg. That character is the serious the straight man in the show. He's always serious. He doesn't joke around. He has very flashy moves, but continuously loses. Or not continuously. He's a very high losing loss to win ratio. I think it's like 2 wins to like 12 losses. So usually his idea is, I have to win, I have to defeat this person any way possible. So you'll see like that's what I was saying, like the high budget fighting sequences are usually revolving around this person, whereas you just see death. Yes, actually Hercule is another character to actually be a gag character nonetheless. And since the fact that Hercule is known to be the hero of all of Earth, he has the power to defeat one of the strongest beings on Earth, who is going to be Majin Buu, who is able to defeat everyone, but he just feeds them. And regardless of what Goku's doing, what any of the Z fighters are doing, he's the one who is told that he is the savior. He's the one who everyone believes defeated Cell. And that's why everyone's like, oh, he's the strongest person out there. He defeated the alien that was going to eat us all. So that's his gag, is that he's the weakest character, and yet he's known to be the strongest. And there is another character in One Punch Man named King, who basically has the same thing is him and Saitama, who everyone sees King. He's a very intimidating person. Everyone is very afraid of him, but it's Saitama who has defeated all these people, but they believe it's him as well. So it's always, kind of interesting how they always run into that kind of like running gag. not sure about any other. I'm not really, big into like live action series. If anyone hasn't noticed, but I don't know if anyone else. If I don't know if you or Dory knows, or I guess anyone in chat really knows. Another series that's kind of like that. I know that I can probably talk about Berserk for days, and there's like a fairy in that show, like an actual fairy. Um, and a child who are could be considered, comedic relief, but um is there like a live action series that you know of that might have a suggestion for it?
Oh boy. I'm trying to think of anything recent that I've been watching.
I mean, it doesn't
Um,
have to be recent.
oh, okay. Um, hmm. I watch all serious stuff. This sucks. I watch like Law and Order and,
Oh.
and CSI. But I've been watching some stuff on Disney Plus. Like I just started rewatching um Agent Carter. Um,
Okay.
and there's definitely some characters on there that provide some comic relief. For some reason, the first thing that comes to my mind is Community, but they're all really funny, so I can't even say that. But um,
I mean, actually, Dory has Kramer. Kramer from
who?
Seinfeld. Kramer from Seinfeld, the guy with like the crazy hair
Oh,
who like always ran into Jerry's apartment. Um, I think it's Hitch and Sully, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and if I'm not mistaken, those two were actually they had like a thing from like, oh, when I was younger, um, this is what we used to look like, and it was like a character. It was the guy who I think played Thad Castle, who's currently playing Jack Reacher. Actually played one of them, which was still like a funnier ongoing joke. Like these are why, like this is what they used to look like, and they were like these two fat out of shape cops now.
if we're going that route, if he's saying Seinfeld, I'm thinking of like How I Met Your Mother. Um,
You're talking about
and I think
Barney.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And he's always like, "This moment's gonna be legend. Wait for it, dairy."
Yep.
He'll be like, "I hope you're not lactose intolerant."
Oh my god, I think they're the best one for me for that one. He was like, this is gonna be legend, and then like stopped it, and then they like later on in the show he finished like dairy, and I was like, that threw me
Mhm.
off for such a loop.
Carl the bartender.
Dory says Carl the bartender as
From How
well
I Met Your
Carl the
Mother.
from How I
bartender.
Met Your Mother.
Oh,
Because he just offer comedic relief at the weirdest times. Like everything falls apart in an episode, and then there's Carl putting together all the pieces for everybody.
okay. Sorry, I'm trying to like figure out who these guys were. Yeah, the guy who played Jack Reacher currently was I think Hitch or Sully.
Alan Richardson.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew that off the top of your head or not, but that's
Oh,
impressive.
I knew that. He also was in
Smallville.
oh my god. Well, yeah, he was, but he was in Blue Mountain State
Yep, he was in BMS.
and Titans. He was
Oh, he was
Hawk.
yeah, I was gonna say I haven't seen Titans. I did see the fact that he did play Hawk though.
It's
He
okay.
is like fitness wise, he is ridiculously in shape, and I kind of want to have like another podcast episode with Dory in it, kind of talking about animes and like cartoons and stuff where they have like those workout routines, like about with like um weighted clothing and stuff like that, and see if you can give some insight, but that's for another day. But for one thing, I think that I think it'll be like a good time just to kind of like bounce ideas off with that. Okay, so let me bring to the next question. This is going to be a little bit more of a interesting one, just kind of like throw some ideas out. This is going to be like your own personal, what you feel like about it. So there we go. So in a lot of anime, you'll typically see like a lot of gag scenes, especially like I want to say older anime, but that sounds sad. I'm gonna call it retro. In retro animes, so like the late 80s to like the early 2000s, you'll see like a lot of characters who are like massive perverts, or scenes where a lot of characters have like that nosebleed scene where they're like shooting blood out. One that usually comes to mind when I say that is in Dragon Ball, like when Goku was a child. um he was in a tournament, he was fighting, Krillin was fighting an invisible monster, like an invisible dude, and Goku like lifts up, or Krillin lifts up Bulma's shirt, and then Master Roshi has a massive nosebleed so they can see the guy. That's like the example that always pops into my head when I always think like, oh, it's a gag scene for a pervy gag scene. That's the one that I always like, comes to mind. Why do you think that like a lot of shows, or mostly I know animes personally, have a lot of like popular gag characters, or like popular scenes that are more perverted?
So if we're referring to like older stuff,
Mm-hmm.
my thinking is, if in society, it's not typical for us to openly talk about sexual things or anything of that nature. So I think it makes people uncomfortable and it forces them to laugh about it. And I think that's why it's so relevant.
Okay. So you just think it's like just because it's more uncomfortable for them?
Yep. When
All right.
when something makes you uncomfortable, you either laugh or you walk away. And
That's
when you're watching something, chances are you're just gonna laugh it off.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good perspective on it. So I honestly, I wish I had an answer. So the only thing I can think of is like sex sells. Um like those really perverted scenes where you see like, even in like old movies, not old, just specific old movies, but like old horror movies, I should say. Like if you watch like the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, or Halloween, there's usually like a sex scene in there before someone dies. Um,
Oh my god, Final Destination too.
Final
Yes.
Destination 2.
Yes.
It's a lot of tension usually like just breaks after you see someone having sex. Like it's not like, it has to be a funny thing, but like someone's gonna die sooner or later, and you just go like, oh yeah, great, they're fucking great, that's wonderful. But that can be counted as like a like, I guess not like a comic relief scene, but more of a just like a general relief scene. But it's gonna happen. There's death around the corner, but at least you like take a little bit, like you could take a breath from that. Welcome in. I'm gonna probably say this wrong. Indoraptor. This is actually like the little podcast episode, so I do want to welcome you in. If you have any questions, our podcast is going to be currently about comic relief and gag characters, and right now we're on the question of why are popular gag characters in anime, or in general, so perverted. So if you have any perspective on it, you can always pop in and add something in the chat. But that's kind of like more I can think of. It's not like it's just kind of like sex, kind of, I mean, minus in porn, but sex kind of like calms tension down. It's not what like you kind of like you were there for, in my opinion. It's more like you you kind of threw it in there because, I mean, it's easier to sell sex than it's just like some kid, like, you have Halloween going on and there's a bunch of murders going around. You have that one kid in like a dopey costume who got a wedgie from a bully. It's funny to think of, but like you don't think like, oh, they're gonna have like a bunch of kids out during Halloween while there's been a mass murder on the loose, because that just sounds stupid in general. You know. But that's what yeah. Oh, what?
So for some reason, what I think of is all the failed relationships Marshall has on How I Met Your Mother, and how Barney Stinson says, "You should try the naked man." The dude just gets stripped down naked on a couch and hopes that the girl that walks in, there's like a 1 out of 3 chance that he's gonna get slept with. So
yeah. And it's just one of those things that you just go like, oh, I mean, you know, it kind of like changed the mood for it. It's like, even if you're like down on your luck, some dude trying to have sex, you're just like, oh, that's hilarious and sad.
Oh my god.
So I can definitely see that. I mean, let's see. So I do only have like one more question left too, which is we've only been doing this for about maybe 40 minutes. So I don't know. Do you have any other? I mean, I don't really see any other question. I can't really think of anything else to kind of follow this with. So I'm gonna go with the last question then. So the last question I have on here is, what shows do you think need a gag characters but don't have one? So I know it says gag character, but if you think like just comic relief character, what shows do you feel like, don't really necessarily have one for it, but could definitely use it?
Oh my god. You realize you're making me feel like I live under a rock, because I'm like, wow, I really watched some serious stuff.
That means you probably will be able to do it a lot more.
I mean, you can't put a gag person in Law and Order. Like, you just can't.
Dude, I would throw like one gag character in like every other episode. Law and Order, you just go into the judge scene, and then you have like that one person who's just like, look, my baby mama is crazy. They didn't need nothing about this.
I could say that Law and Order Organized Crime might have a gag character. It's weird. She's actually the tech person in the show, and the problem with her is whenever her comic relief comes in, she says it with such a serious face. But she's saying it so seriously, but means it in a joking manner that you can't help but laugh at her.
Yeah.
It's just an awkward, like, she's got a very awkward personality. So, but I'm trying to think of a show that probably needs comic relief. Oh boy.
What about so I haven't watched Dexter, so this is me like asking, like, what about Dexter? I know it's about like a guy who kills serial killers. Do you think there's anything that could be added onto that?
Oh my god, speaking of serial killers, the show that one didn't have any comic relief, in my opinion. And that show had me sitting on the edge of the seat, like freaking out, panicking. It could have definitely used some comic relief at some point.
That sounds like Death Note.
Well, yeah, the guy just murders everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody he dates, and it's just horrifying. Comic relief.
So Dory said that Grey's Anatomy could have used a comic relief character.
Yeah, then people wouldn't be so depressed. Sheesh.
Yeah. Another character, and then Dory also, Indoraptor actually said that sounds like Death Note, about what you were saying earlier. Dory then also added that they need a better comic relief on Dexter, the character they had, which just wasn't interesting enough. Speaking of Kazi actually added, speaking of serial killers, bring back cinnamon and Rice Krispies. That's pretty good. That's actually sounds delicious, to be honest with you, thinking about it now.
So I know Dory mentioned earlier, he mentioned Booster Gold, and I just
Yes.
want to say I've never read up on the character, but I have to say, in even the DC Lego game I've played, he's very funny and very full of himself.
Yes, he's a character who is from the future, who goes back in time with a lot of, you know, futuristic tech, try to become a superhero, but he usually fails on it.
Great.
All right, so Indoraptor actually said maybe Quicksilver. So are you saying that Quicksilver was a comic relief character? Like, I hear Dory in the background.
Sorry.
That was fine. That was just like really funny. I wasn't expecting it. Oh, I read a lot of comics and I feel like it needs more humor. Okay, yeah, that so I need to actually do one of these and just have like make everybody prepared, because like I have not gotten up to date with a lot of comic books. The way I actually get up to date with comics right now is Comic Storian and Variant Comics on YouTube. So that's kind of like how I try to keep up to date right now, because everything comics is, you know, it's that running, the idea of needing to buy 3 Doctor Strange comics just to know exactly what's going on with Iron Man. That stuff like that always stresses me out, especially like financially wise right now. I'd rather just stay with my manga, stay in the one universe, be continuous with it, and, you know, just kind of like dole out to everything else. I don't like, as much as I love the DC universe and the Marvel universe, it gets hard to keep up to date with, you know, without stealing comics from like websites and stuff.
With that being said, have you watched Doom Patrol?
No, I have not watched Doom Patrol.
All right. Well, it's literally dedicated to gag characters, but Robot Man, oh my god, easily my favorite. Easily.
Okay.
Like, he is so funny and he is so sarcastic and so cynical, and he's the type of character that makes fun of himself before anybody else can.
I mean, this sounds like Robot Man, honestly.
Perfect.
Let's see. Indoraptor says, I've read a lot of comics. The comics that I feel like needs oh, I already read that one. Like the book I have is a lot of Quicksilver one, like Heroes for Hire and Inhumans. Okay. Honestly, I love Heroes for Hire. I want to actually start reading some of their stuff. I actually need to read some manga still. Kaji saying, speaking of which, speaking of manga, Sawyer is his daughter. Started reading Demon Slayer by her own choice, which is great. Honestly, that is a great series to actually start off on. I think it's a little tough to read sometimes from here and there, but it's never like too stressful. So I mean, Naruto has I think, actually, speaking of Naruto, I know Dory might have actually watched this, so he might be able to give me a little bit more insight. Who's a gag character in Naruto? Because I would think Choji, you know, being a fat ninja, or actually, I take that back. Choji and Shikamaru and Rock Lee.
Rock Lee was the only one I was gonna say. So that worked.
Did you hear him?
No, not really.
He said Rock Lee.
Rock Lee. Because Rock Lee being a ninja who can't actually do ninjutsu is pretty funny. Choji being a ninja who is very fat and, you know, seems out of shape, kind of a running gag on that idea. Shikamaru just being like the lazy genius as well. So I mean, that's kind of like a gag in itself that has been used forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know.
A lot of characters in Naruto are pervy and Ibisu. Yep, actually, that's another thing we actually brought up earlier too. So thank you for bringing up Naruto again. So, Ibisu Sensei is a elite Jonin, which is like a higher ranked ninja. And what was it? Ebisu, Kakashi, Jiraiya. These are all like high level ninjas in Naruto. Like basically the running gag in Naruto for like, it's not a gag character, it's just a running gag, is the stronger you are in Naruto, the pervier the person. So the strongest person is Kaguya, and she's a villain on her own right. She almost destroyed the, like, you stopped the entire world. And actually, I shouldn't even say this. I'm gonna stop real quick on that one. But the sage Jiraiya, basically, he is a sage, which is one of the most difficult things to become in Naruto. And on top of the fact that he is writing pervy fanfics, basically. Like, imagine someone who is asked to become like, basically, this is the worst example, and I know everyone's probably gonna hate me up for this. Basically, imagine Jiraiya is Donald Trump, and someone came up to him and was just like, Jiraiya, or Donnie, let's talk. Can you be our president? And he was like, no, I'm too busy writing my books right now. I'm too busy writing fanfics to sell to people. Like that's the basic level of what Jiraiya is. He's just like, I want money and I want bitches. If I ain't getting money, I'm looking for bitches. And as much as I love Jiraiya, it's just the wildest idea that they were just like, they kind of ran on the idea of like all the strongest ninjas want to read what is it called, I think it's like he wrote a book series called Make Out Paradise, and most of the strongest ninjas read this book. So it's just like, what is going on in this series? I can't really think of another anime that has something like, well, Dragon Ball Z is, who I said earlier, Master Roshi. But I saw a funny Naruto meme. It was Rock Lee. Rock Lee was the only ninja in Naruto, but then the rest were wizards pretending to be ninjas. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of true. Most of the ninjas in Naruto are very bright colored. I think the only people who are truly ninjas in that series right now are, who is it, the Anbu Black Ops, and they're useless. They're like the only ones who actually hide in shadows, do stuff in the middle of the night, tell people to run their pockets without knowing who they really are. And and then they're just like, anytime you actually see them doing stuff, they're always just like kicked in the dick and then called it a day. Yeah, like it's literally that. Also the root. Don't know what the root is actually. So I might need a little bit more perspective on that. I almost could not talk for a second. Jesus. I was about to be like the foof. Oh yeah. So yeah, the Danzo is like the shadow Kage, basically, of the ninja of the hidden leaf. He had the root, and they did like very, very like dirty work. So like, someone told you to go kill a baby because it was the Antichrist, it was like their job to go do that. So I'm gonna actually go with the next portion of the question, if that's all right. It's just more of what shows you feel like need to remove their gag character or their comic relief.
Oh, that's a good one. Need to remove them.
Yep.
All right. Honestly, I'm gonna go back to Peacemaker. They just overdo it. For me, I'm like, just pick one character to be the comic relief, and then just kill off the other one or something. Like, I don't know, push them into traffic or something. But I guess if I had to get rid of one of the characters there, it would probably be Judo Master. He's so obnoxious.
Okay.
Because Vigilante, he's necessary, so you can't get rid of him.
So it's just like, maybe this might be a little bit better of a question. Do you feel like there's a way to have too many gag characters? So
yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So what's the perfect amount for a gag character? Would it be just like one per series, or like kind of just have
I'm gonna say like one per episode.
One per episode. Okay.
One per episode. That's like a sweet spot, I think.
All right, so let's just be like, sometimes they do overkill for some shows, so you can't be like, oh, you can't, have two gag characters at the same time. Because one thing I could say is, okay, I can't say it. Be honest, it's really difficult. Mr. Mixaplex, I don't know, some the fifth dimensional imp in Superman, that guy. There's a guy who's the imp in Superman. He is so strong that he can actually change and warp our reality because he's 2 dimensions ahead of us. But is able to come to ours just to entertain himself. He chose to deal with Superman because he's the strongest, one of the strongest people in the universe, and the rule for that is that he will go away for an extended period of time as long as you make him say his own name backwards.
That's obnoxious.
That is obnoxious as all hell.
I can't even say his name backwards. I've tried to say his name backwards, and I
can't say his name forward. Like, forget backwards. Like, how do you? I can't say it the normal way. I can't say it the other way around. I remember the episode of I remember an episode of Superman the Animated Series when they introduced him as a character, and he was like, if you make me say my name backwards, I will leave. And Superman was just like, okay, but how am I gonna do that? I don't even know how it sounds backwards. And then all you see is him say it, and then he leaves. Yeah, so I thought that was actually really funny. Also, welcome in. I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong. Odacat. It might be Odacat, and I might just be like an idiot. I like how I said it. Okay, so it is Odacat. So we're kind of jumbling through the next portion of this, I guess, but we went through all the questions at this point, but I'm always going to bring up like classic / retro animes. There are 2 animes I will talk about because we have the remake of Trigun, except Trigun Stampede is out now. I haven't really started going into that show. I've only watched 2 episodes, but I have watched the original version of it. So Vash the Stampede is a very strong character in that show. Like, he is stronger than any human in that show, but he always puts himself back a lot. He always, always goes easy on a lot of people. He doesn't want to hurt anybody. If he truly wanted to, he can destroy the world. Like, it's always, he's that strong. And then we have Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho, who has a sword. He can make an energy sword that can actually cut through dimensions. Do you feel like a lot of characters in shows who are like, supposed to be comic relief, are sometimes a lot more powerful than they're making themselves appear to be? Or do they hold themselves back because of some godforsaken reason? Is it like more to prolong the show, or is it just like for what cause? Oh, and then how many episodes does Chainsaw Man have? I think 12 to 16. And then Indoraptor said that Goku is the OG comic relief. And then hello, Amber. Sorry. All right, so I mean, I guess anime perspective wise, do you feel like a lot of characters who are like extremely strong characters but they don't show it are just doing that for like a comic relief thing, or is it like their own specific gag in their shows? Because Trigon, like I said earlier, a strong character who doesn't really do all he really can do. There's One Punch Man, like I said earlier. There might be other examples, but those are usually like the two I can really think of. What do you think about those characters?
Are you asking me what I think about those characters?
I'm asking chat, and I'm asking you.
Okay, because I don't really know those characters.
Okay. Or basically, what do you think about characters who are like kind of like the running joke of their own show, but if you ever see them, like I guess like Peacemaker for key example, he is a character that thinks of himself as like the shit who's able to do a lot of things, but he does also have his father who always like kind of like more or less puts him down a lot, so he's not probably not doing everything he can do.
I think this version of Peacemaker does everything he can do. I do think he goes over the top to compensate for how poorly his father treats him. But I feel like it brings balance to the show because of it.
Okay. I think that's actually, that's actually really good. So it's more like a balance thing then. So it just like kind of, I guess makes the series more interesting, because if he was just like, I guess, in the right state of mind forever, like at all points in time, not trying to compensate for something, maybe the show wouldn't be as good. I mean, that's something I'm just thinking of. I don't know. So I'm just gonna go pop into chat really quick, and then we also have Miss Potter who came in, so welcome in. Indoraptor actually just said, well, in Dragon Ball, Goku held back sometimes, but he didn't want to hurt people. Goku definitely has held back a lot. I don't think, if we actually go back through like a lot of like the Dragon Ball history, Goku actually has never killed anybody either. Or if he has, it's been like a lot less than you'd expect. Miss Potter actually said that it's Saitama. So Saitama is a good example of a really strong character who kind of holds back a lot. And Otacott said a lot of things, so hold on. So Otacott said, I think there are a lot of characters who are fun, goofy, and seem to be dumb. But of the joke, but those characters, he said weed. Oh, those characters weed their way into your heart with their own charm. I was thinking weed, like he like put a typo. Let's see. I think there is something to be said about how he's like. There's a lot of things going on right now. I think there is a lot of. There's a. I can't talk either. I think there is something to be said about how a show can make you laugh, and then pull a 180 and make drama feel more impactful. Yes, that is true. That's absolutely true, to be honest with you. Then Indoraptor actually corrected me and saying I'm pretty sure Goku killed Frieza, and then is also saying and Demon King Piccolo. So Demon King Piccolo, yes. Frieza technically in Dragon Ball Super. So it's weird. It's weird knowledge. So on Namek, he tried to kill Frieza. He actually pushed him into space. He was extremely critically damaged. Became Mecha Frieza, so he had like a lot of cybernetic parts onto him. And shows back. Trunks kills him. And Dragon Ball Super does actually kill Frieza to prevent him from destroying the Earth. But is also revived. So Goku kills Frieza, but then also brings him back after the Tournament of Power. So it kind of negates the kill, I guess. So yes, he does have blood in his hands, but he also does bring back people who he has killed. So I mean that could be an argument for like ever, like what does killing actually count as? You know, but Goku is a good example for a comic relief kind of character, but he's not really a gag character. He does do a lot of things to change the tension, or he'll do something that kind of corrects it. I thought Whis brought back Frieza from death. Yes, he brought back Frieza from death, but Goku did promise Frieza that he'd bring him back to life after if he did join and win the Tournament of Power. So it was already an initial promise that Goku was going to fulfill regardless, because Goku's not a good liar. So Goku, from when he was a child, yes, he did initiate a lot of gag or comic relief related things. For the prime example of Goku being a comic relief is the fact that he would pat a lot of women on their genitals just to make sure that they're, a boy or a girl. So he'd smack a dude on the dick just to be like, oh, you are a boy. Or if it's just like pat, oh, you're a girl, because he didn't really have that distinction, because all he knew for 10 years of 8 to 10 years of his life was just his grandpa and nobody else. So he didn't know there was a difference. And laying down on Bulma's crotch and finding out that she doesn't have a dick, that whole initial scene of removing her panties because he wasn't did not care about that sort of idea. He was just like, oh, these are weird and uncomfortable, and then throws them on the ground. He's like, oh shit, you got no dick. And then that leading to the point where Bulma pulls up her dress and Master Roshi can see her vagina. He does lead to a lot of comedic acts, but after that initial portion of Dragon Ball, Krillin becomes a comic relief because they had a third character who wasn't Bulma, and then after that I think Yajirobe is a comic relief mostly in the Dragon Ball series. I had a lot to think about on this. So it's not like it's a crazy thing, but it's just I have a lot of weird knowledge of Dragon Ball for this dumb reason. I don't know. Does anyone else do you have any questions? Anyone else? I know we've been only going through an hour. Yamcha kind of Indoraptor saying that Yamcha is kind of comic relief because of how easily he died to the Cybermen. Yes, actually, that was a really big comic relief. Also a huge tension creator. But him dying actually kind of created him as a gag character as well. From the initial Dragon Ball to where we are now, because the scene in Dragon Ball Super where they're just playing baseball and he catches the baseball and he's back in that I got it blown up, little hole again, kind of made him into that, more of a gag character if anything. Also not, shit talking him either, by the way. It was just, it's just like my perspective on it. Like I will always say this entire thing is always opinion based. This is just how I feel about a lot of things. If anyone ever feels like they want to argue any points, go right ahead. I will just tell you what my point is. I might even agree with what you're saying. But Brittany, did you have any questions or any comments you wanted to say? I know I've been kind of like rambling a lot right now.
No questions. The one thing that you've made me realize is that I am a mom. So every gag character or comic relief I conveyed to Disney. So thanks.
That's not a bad thing though. Like you could be like, not a mom and still do that.
Like I'm just thinking about like The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody and like Mr. Mosby, and then it just spiraled from there.
I mean, we could also talk about Nickelodeon too, where which this makes me feel like I watch too many cartoons. And Danny Phantom, yeah. In Danny Phantom, I can think of the teacher, Danny Phantom's teacher, who always screams like a random book or play. So when he's surprised, he'll just be like, "Pride and Prejudice," and then you're just like, "What the fuck? Why?" And then Mr. Croc, Denzel Crocker, being, always thinking that there's a Fairly Guy parents somewhere out and about.
Oh, and then he freaks out and he twitches.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Like there's a lot you can think of. It's just like you kind of have to like think about it sometimes, and it's just weird. And then you just realize like, the dude from iCarly,
The brother?
No, not the brother, the Jamaican dude. Or not Jamaican dude, the dude with the dreadlocks who always has something on a stick.
Oh my god.
You know who? Yes, you know what I'm talking about at least.
Yes. Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, Smoothie Man. Yes, Miss Potter, Smoothie Man.
Smoothie Man.
Like there's always like some random examples of like a comic relief character or just a gag character. Like there's gag characters are really well known in animes because they're always like more prominent, but like you can always think of one. So I think the last thing I have is I found a clip of Hamlet just because of what I was talking about earlier about how we did have these gag characters from way back when. I have a clip from the play of Hamlet. It looks like it was from a college. I didn't look where it was from. Let me double check so I can at least say who did it. Well, It says it's from the BLC theater, but I don't know where that is. It's Bethany Lutheran College. That sounds like a school about arts. It's a Christian higher education. Well, that's definitely not a school about arts. So I think that's like just the last thing I have on it, but I'm glad you guys came in today, that's for sure. It's, you know, it's actually really fun still doing these. I'm thinking I'm still gonna be doing these for, you know, every week. I think next week I might actually do a really, you know, more big one that I will, you know, most of the information I have is going to be based off of one YouTube clip YouTube video I've watched. It's going to be about Superman. I'm going to talk about Superman. That's pretty much it. It's going to be like why I don't like Superman, why people actually don't like Superman, why people love Superman, Superman. So that's gonna be next week. I don't know how long it's gonna be, but you know, I think it should be fun. I'm gonna pop this open on maybe just chatting might be a good one. Yeah, just chatting would be perfect for it. So I'll just watch that real quick. You don't have to watch the entire thing if you don't want to. While we do that, I'm gonna do a couple shout outs for everybody who came in, and also I'm gonna find a location to bring you guys, because I think that'll be the end of the stream for today. Let's see. I might throw you guys into Autocat's stream or Clockwork Jewels. I know I've been rating Autocat a lot, so I don't always want to like give him the stuff, but he's a good streamer and he's definitely coming up. Very, very excited streamer for sure. So let me bring this over and then I'll get everything ready too. We're gonna skip most of this. There we go.
Well, how can that be? Unless she drowned herself in self-defense.
Why, 'tis found so.
It must be self-offense. It cannot be else. For here lies the point. If I drown myself wittingly, it argues an act, and an act hath three branches. It is to act, to say, to do. Ergo, she drowned herself wittingly.
Nay, but hear you, good man Zelda.
Give me leave. Here lies the water. Good? Here stands the man. If the man go to this water and drown himself, it is willy-nilly goes. Mind you that. But if the water go to him and drown him, either shortens not his own life, either is not guilty of his own death, shortens not his own life.
law?
Aye, merry is it. Coroner's law.
Will you have the truth on't? Had she not been a gentlewoman, she would have been buried out of Christian burial.
Why, there thou sayest, and the more pity that great folk should have more permission in this life to drown or hang themselves than their fellow Christians.
Right shame.
Right. Come thy spade. There is no ancient gentleman but gardeners, ditchers, and grave makers. They held up Adam's profession.
Adam. Was he a gentleman? Had he a coat of arms?
He was the first that ever bore arms.
All right, I think that's good enough for today. This is not a classroom. It was actually pretty funny though, but I think that's gonna be it. I'm so glad everybody came in. I'm gonna call it a day, and we're gonna read Autocat. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be streaming games or not, but we'll see. It might just be a just chatting stream, but we'll see. We'll figure it out from there. All right, have a great night, everybody. Though.